Hello guys and welcome back. Hope all of you are doing well this week. So today it's finally time to tear down this tank, but first let's take a look at it. Over the past 3 weeks the tank has been doing pretty well. There's a lot of decent growth, especially with the Rotella macranda that's at the front of the tank. We can see how much it's grown. It's literally almost hitting the surface. The colours are also very nice. So some of you might be thinking, why tear down this tank? It looks perfectly fine. It's actually doing quite well. So for some of you that have not been following along, I've had massive cyanobacteria problems in this tank. And over the past few weeks, it's just gotten so much worse. Because I've turned on the central heating, because it's starting to get cold, we can see like the massive flare up. This is a flare up in like only a week. So if some of you haven't watched episode 1 and 2, I'm going to insert the playlist card on the screen if you want to go and check that out. So you guys can imagine this is just a week's worth of flare up. If I would leave this tank in a couple of weeks, everything would be completely dead inside the tank. So we can see that the cyanobacteria is flaring up from the substrate and is creeping all the way up the stems of the plants. And what it does, it literally chokes them. It chokes them, and after a while the stem actually dies. It really does look like something straight out of a science fiction film. So it's everywhere. It's not just in this small section here. It's everywhere, all over the plants, in the substrate, growing on the leaves. So like I said in the second episode, there was only so much I was willing to do till I broke the tank down. So this is what we're doing today. And it's not going to be an easy task. So obviously not everything is salvageable from this tank. There are just things that I'm going to have to throw away. It's not something I like doing. It's not something I actually ever do. I always reuse plants, substrates when it's possible. But this tank is just too far gone. There's also a risk of contamination if I start a new setup with this aqua soil. Well, you can be sure that the cyanobacteria is just going to spread to every other scape I'm going to do with it. So the Rotella macranda that is here, it looks pretty decent. It doesn't have any cyanobacteria on it whatsoever, so I am going to try and save it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it down and I'm going to sterilize it in hydrogen peroxide. So I'm going to be doing a dip, and that's probably the only thing I'm going to be saving from this actual tank. The goal would be to reuse the Rotella macranda to make a mini version of this tank just without the cyanobacteria. So that will probably be for another video, because it is going to take me a long time to break down this tank, to sterilize the plants, to clean everything up. It's just, everybody who's broke down the tank knows how much work it can be. And an extra step is I'm also going to be sterilizing the whole tank. The filter, every tool that goes into this tank, I'm actually going to have to sterilize, because if I use it in any other setup, obviously there's a risk of cross-contamination as well. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. So I'm going to start off by trimming the Rotella macranda. I'm going to trim as much of it as I can, and then I'm going to put it like directly into a bucket with some hydrogen peroxide. So initially what I wanted to do is keep almost all the Rotella macranda, but as I was cutting into the plants, I could see that the cyanobacteria had started to grow on some of the stems of the Rotella macranda. So there was only so much of the stems I was going to be able to keep. We can see on the images here, literally in the middle of a stem, there's a piece of cyanobacteria. So it was round about the same thing for the other side. The middle of the plant really had a lot of cyanobacteria on its stems. So I just took a few of them from around that area. Now that I've cut all the stems that were healthy, they don't have any cyanobacteria on the leaves, on the stems, I'm going to dose 3% hydrogen peroxide into a bucket with some water, and then I'm going to put all the stems for about 15 minutes. So obviously it's not because there isn't cyanobacteria that's visible on these plants that it isn't there, right? Cyanobacteria is a bacteria, so it's not because you can't see it that it's not there. That's why it's important to sterilize the plants. So obviously you guys can't smell anything through the camera, but let me tell you, like, this smells like a pile of old dirt. It's like, it smells like wet dirt. And it really, like, cyanobacteria has that very earthy smell. So I'm really happy I'm tearing this tank down right now. After completely draining the tank, I just took a minute to really clean everything thoroughly. So the tube, the bucket, the scissors, because again, like I said, cross-contamination is a big worry for me. So I really did do this thoroughly. And it was about time also to rinse the plants. So I just rinsed them thoroughly again in some nice clean water. And I'm going to let them sit in this bucket for the next few days and keep an eye on them. I cannot tell you how bad this smells. This smells like so bad. So bad. Once the tank was completely empty of all the aqua soil, I decided to hose it down outside because, like, the smell was so bad, like I actually couldn't take it anymore. So I just decided to hose it outside. After giving it a thorough spray down, I actually saw that was still cyanobacteria in the silicon seams of the tank, and I could visibly see it. So I decided to hit the tank with a diluted bleach solution to really be sure that it wasn't gonna re-stem from the silicon seals. So you can see me going in with a toothbrush as well. So once I had gone over the seams and I couldn't see any more cyanobacteria, I had to rinse the tank thoroughly, and I cannot tell you how much time I spent rinsing the tank. I thought I was never going to be the end of it, really. But yeah, it is better to thoroughly rinse it when you are using bleach. It's just to be on the safe side, really, and then just let it air dry. So the tank is going to be empty for a couple of weeks until I decide what I want to scape inside it. So once all that rinsing was done, I dried the tank and I put it into place, and it was already looking a lot better. Okay, so now I have a nice clean slate. I can now think about what kind of aquascape I want to do in this tank. I'm thinking maybe a jungle style, a dark jungle style aquascape. I'm not sure yet, I have to give it some thought. But it is a decent sized tank, it's a 45, so there's quite a few different things I could do. So guys, again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next Monday for a new video.